I don't know how else to describe it other than they are kind of like fatherly in a way. I know Heather said daddy, but I wasn't even thinking of it in that way, really.
Heather's mind was going a different direction with that. Hi guys, welcome to LoveCast, the Boys Love podcast. I am your host, Alexa, and with me are my co-hosts, Kayla and Pixie.
Hey.
Hey.
So today we're doing a very me-centric episode because we are doing this one for me. But yeah, we're doing our little history of episode on Max-Tul. So we'll be going deep into my favorite pairing, the people's favorite pairing, you know, the fathers of the industry, as people like to call them. But before we get into it, we did just want to do like another little plug. We're going to be, by the time this comes out, I think we'll probably be like, 2 weeks away from the Thailand trip. So yeah, we're right now as of recording, we're like exactly 30 days away from all of us leaving for Thailand, which is kind of crazy. And when this comes out, it'll be like 2 weeks from the trip. So I guess we just kind of wanted to plug it, you know, like we're still planning and funding a lot of different things that we're going to be doing while we're there. So you guys were amazing with the Kickstarter. That's literally the only reason we are able to go on that trip, and your funding made it possible for us to be able to buy the tickets and stuff like that. So thank you again for that. But like, yeah, if you did still feel compelled to donate, or if you missed out on the Kickstarter time period, things like buying our merch helps us a lot. We see those funds immediately. We also have like Ko-fi, PayPal, those kind of links down in the description that you can always donate to, as well as our Patreon if you wanted to get something in return for your donations. We're putting out a lot more content over there. We started doing trailer reactions. We always put out like clips from our interviews, early release clips, and reviews are going up on there and stuff like that. So, you know, just a couple of different avenues that you guys can support us at if you're interested. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff there regardless. But, you know, anything helps and makes it a little bit more...
Yeah, it will open more doors for us, kind of. Yeah.
It takes a little bit of the monetary, I don't know what word I'm looking for, stress, I guess, out of the whole thing, pressure. Yeah. So anything helps, and it'll help things go a little bit smoother for us in the planning process and stuff like that. So no pressure, of course, ever. But if that's something you guys are interested in helping with, you know where our links are. So, yeah. All right, so let's get into it. Doing a deep dive into the fandom proclaimed fathers of boys love, which technically they're not really like the first people to ever be doing like a boys love series, but I guess it's kind of just from the energy they bring to it and stuff like that, that they've kind of gotten that nickname. But we are going to be talking about Max and Tul, who I'm sure most people probably know them, unless you're like very, very new to BL, since they haven't been doing as much in the past couple years. But they're a pretty big BL pairing who's known for, I guess, their chemistry, their bond, things like that. They're my personal favorite pairing across BL. So if you've watched the podcast to any extensive degree, you've probably heard me talk about them in at least 1 or 2 episodes. But yeah, we're just kind of going to be diving into their career, their projects that they've done together, just kind of talking about what makes them special and why they kind of have had the longevity that they do in the industry. And yeah, I'm going to try not to over co-opt the whole episode and just ramble. But we'll see how it goes. So starting with the general info, Max and Tul of MaxTul. So Max is younger at 28 and Tul is 30. Max primarily works as an actor. He's done a lot of different projects over the years, but he also recently opened a bar, which is called Nua Near Bar, which I hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation, but he's putting a lot of work into that recently as well.
We are 100% going there when we're in Thailand. Just saying.
I want that. That's like one of the top things on my list that I want to do. Like we want to,
especially after hearing who stopped by the bar and met Max there.
Yeah. So a couple of our friends of the podcast and listeners who are in our server were in Thailand earlier this year, and they were visiting his bar, and he just happened to be there that night, and they were just chatting with him and taking pictures and stuff like that. So obviously we'd be going there no matter what, because we want to visit all of the BL boy owned cafes and stuff like that. But the added knowing the story of how people we're friends with and talk with have gotten to hang out and chat with him there is kind of bumped it up on the list. So we'll definitely be there.
We will be filming.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully we can get some good content out of it.
Yeah.
And then Tul also works as an actor, but obviously in recent years he's been much more focused on his education and career. So he completed his undergrad in architecture, and he just a couple weeks ago graduated with his master's in real estate development from Columbia University, which is in New York, which congrats to him. That's insane. Graduating from Columbia with a master's.
I think you need to mention his American name when you're talking about this.
Yes, he's been living as Tyler for the past year while he's in America.
Okay.
So yeah, Tul, aka Tyler, as he goes by in America. So he just finished his master's degree in real estate development, which is something that he had been wanting to do since pre-pandemic, but obviously had to delay it a couple years because of that. So I'm sure that's really exciting that he just finished it, and I guess we'll be coming back to Thailand soon to do acting, working, who knows. But he also owns a couple different businesses. He has a Thai massage business, which I think has a couple branches. And then he also co-owns a menstrual product company with his sister, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that's a little bit about them, I guess, as individuals. And they've been acting together since 2016, mainly under productions from the TV company TV Thunder. Tul is signed there as an actor, whereas Max is more of a freelance, I guess. He's not signed to a specific production company, but all of their projects that they've done together, at least, have been through TV Thunder. So, yeah. So diving a bit into, so when I was making this run sheet, they both have a lot more extensive acting resumes than I realized. They've been acting since before together with me and have been in a lot of Lackhorns and stuff like that. So I kind of narrowed it down to just the other LGBTQ plus media that they've been in over the years as individuals. So Max has been in Bangkok Love Stories, which is one of those famous seasonal Thai series where each season kind of has different anthology stories within it, and they kind of just, it's a little bit different each time. Everyone does something different. And his was called Innocence, and he was playing the love interest of the main character in that, who was also a man, and he was I don't know, I think his character was a stripper or something like that. At least there was a scene of him stripping. I remember seeing the clips of that. But yeah, so he's in Bangkok Love Stories Innocence, and then he'll also be playing in this series The Outing later this year, playing the character Chess, which isn't out yet, but the way he's described the character is he's kind of just someone who is into anyone and everyone, so kind of gives the vibes that he'll be playing a queer character in that. And he's also said he's like hinted at his character like being paired up with Top Tap, who was also going to be in that series, and then Non-Cool, who is one of the leads in the historical BL I Feel You Linger in the Air that's coming out later this year. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be like very like messy, friend zone-esque kind of. I think the whole premise is like this company goes on an outing together, and over the course of a couple days, like all these crazy like hookups and drama and more sinister things happen. So yeah,
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to it. I don't know when it's coming out or if it'll be accessible, but like Top Tap, Max, like that alone, like both of them even just being in the series is like, yeah.
God, I've been missing Top Tap.
I know. And then for Tul, in terms of his solo acting work, I'm not familiar with a lot of the projects that they've been in, so they could have played like queer characters or more BL-esque roles in some of these that I wasn't aware of. But I know one of the major ones that Tul was in recently was in season 4 of Sneha Stories, which is also an anthology series. And he actually played a trans character in that, so he was meant to be playing a trans man in the show. It was just like a short special thing, like only 2 episodes. But I remember him talking about, researching for the role and kind of, he had never played a trans character before. So kind of like getting guidance and advice from trans people on playing that role and things like that. And that came out in 2022. So I guess before he left for school last year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I remember really wanting to watch it when it came out, but it was one of those things that wasn't accessible. So, didn't get to see it, but I heard like good things about the people who did watch it. So, or from the people who did watch it.
I mean, it's nice to hear about like the other projects that they're doing like separate from each other, because like when you're in like the BL world fandom, you sort of think of the actors as only doing BL projects. It's like they don't exist in between the projects, so you have no idea what they're doing. And I didn't know about any of these, to be honest, but it's
it's cool to see, like, and I think there's also like it kind of breaks the expectation that a lot of people in the fandom have, that they like will only work with each other and only do things with each other. And so it's nice to kind of hear about like the other work and kind of, I think there's like this, I don't know if stigma is the right word, but like people say like, oh, like people do one BL and then they go off and kind of use that as a stepping stone to get into like the het industry and stuff like that. So it's cool to see like actors who are doing it all together and kind of just, like,
I mean, there's definitely plenty of actors who've done that, but I do think like one of the reasons why Max and Tul are so popular are because they're very genuine about their involvement in BLs and each other, and they've never pretended to be anything other than what they are, which is really, really good friends. Who are just comfortable with each other and can act together.
I have more to say on that later when we get into the section on what makes them so loved. But getting into their acting history together, so obviously most people probably know them from Together With Me, which was their first series that they did as leads in 2017. But the characters of Korn and Nock actually started as a side couple in the series Bad Romance, which came out in 2016. And in that series, they were like an established couple. And I guess they were so popular from that they ended up giving them a spin-off, which was Together With Me, which was supposed to be the prequel of how the characters of Korn and Nock got together. And obviously Together With Me is like wildly popular, which I've said this before that I have a lot of feelings about. it's definitely a show that didn't stand the test of time in terms of quality, if you ask me. Like, there's really not much going on in the story.
No,
I've talked about that a lot.
And yeah, there's a lot of questionable characters in it, and everything feels like sort of like just filler stories to kind of like beef up the storyline.
So much filler. My younger sibling and I, like, during the pandemic, it was either 2020 or 21. Like, we were watching videos with each other, like, on Zoom and stuff, just to kind of do stuff because we weren't going anywhere. And we decided to rewatch Together with Me because, like, we both had these, like, really fond memories of, like, this is where we discovered Max-Tul and stuff like that. And, like, we couldn't get even, like, halfway through that before we were like, nothing is happening. Like, nothing happens. And, like, their chemistry is really, like, as Max and Tul is really, like,
everything.
the only good thing that, like, I feel like remains from that show. But there's, like, a story between, like, a student and a professor. There's, like, the doctor who preys on, like, 18-year-old boys. And it's just,
Predator.
like, oh, my God.
Crazy girlfriend. It's got everything. That's a red flag. Every red flag a BL can have.
Yeah. It is in Together with Me.
Yeah. And I mean, like, considering how much a red flag that show is, it's very surprising to me that they made a sequel. I mean, couldn't they just have taken the two people who were so popular from the show and made something new? Because that story was not a story to build more on. Like, it was
Together
a mess.
With Me,
I couldn't finish the sequel.
Neither did I.
I watched to the point where we got the first clue that there was, like, this cheating thing going on, and I'm just like, no. This is such, like, character assassination. I'm just like, no.
That show is the reason why I am so anti second seasons in BL, because it literally, like, the whole first season of Together with Me was, like, them trying to, like, understand specifically Tul's character, like, trying to understand his sexuality, and Max's character was, like, so into him and was supposed to be such this, like, confident queer person who was so sure of himself, and they went through, like, all of this character development and, like, understanding each other and their relationship, and then, like, the sequel just, like, completely fucked it all out the window, and, like, everything that they built on in the first season, like, what little character development and relationship development there was, they just, like...
Yeah.
And even with the side characters, like, my least favorite thing about that show was how they took Farm, which was the character who was groomed by a doctor, and basically turned him into the same person that doctor was. Yeah. Like, why would you ever do that? Like, they took a victim of, like,
they were
grooming.
going for the revenge plot kind of thing.
God,
like, the doctor got, like, what he deserved. But, dude, you made a kid a predator. What the fuck?
It was so horrible to watch. Like, so yeah,
didn't
Together
you have, like,
Me...
a creepy mustache, too?
Oh, no, not the pedo stash.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So
yeah, no, we agreed that if you want to watch anything by Max-Tul, you don't need to watch the sequel of Together with Me, the next chapter.
Yeah, I would say
you don't need.
Yeah, Together with Me, it's not great, but, like, it's watchable, and, like, they are decent enough in that.
The chemistry is amazing, so it's worth watching for that. But
the second seasons just don't even do it. Even the like prequel, I guess, original Bad Romance, I feel like was better than Together with Me, the next chapter. But
at least Bad Romance had the excuse of being from 2016.
Yeah.
Like the sequel to Together with Me was in 2018.
Mm-hmm. There was no reason that it needed to be what it was.
No.
Yeah, so I will say though, Together with Me gave us one of what I would say is the best female characters in BL to date, which was Yihua, who was like their best friend. She was another person whose like character they kind of assassinated in the second season. Yeah. Like she had this weird thing where like she was like with someone but was like having a fling with her boss almost kind of thing. So like another character assassination, but in the first season, like she was writing. Yeah, like they just went for all the laziest tropes in the second season. But in the first season, like she was top tier. Like she was written really well. She was a really good friend. She was really funny. So even though like the other women in the show, like they did really heavy on the horrible ex-girlfriend trope, like at least we had Yihua to kind of offset that.
Didn't the women, like evil women, meet in like a hotel room, like in some sort of council
they,
of
like,
the
had,
evil?
like, a whole club of like people trying to get back on Knock for cheating on Plurn Plank. Like she brought in like all the other like women in the show. It was wild.
So
it was
weird.
truly wild.
So weird.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay.
So then we move on from that era, and I thought the next one I included was really interesting because kind of talking about how like this idea that BL actors can do other things outside of just being in BL together. So they were both in this lacorn called Singha Naka, which I also probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but so they were both like had supporting roles in the show, but they weren't tied to each other at all romantically. So Max played like the villain in the show, and Tul had like, he said he played a police officer. I don't know like what kind of role that was, how relevant it was. But I just thought it was interesting that it was a show that like both of these actors were in who are a BL pairing, but like they weren't tied to each other at all in the show, and they both kind of had separate characters and arcs. So I thought that was cool, kind of talking
kind of like Brightwin with
F4. Yeah.
F4.
Yeah, like they're there, but like I don't even know like, you know, if their characters interacted in the show at all. But yeah, so they had that, and then we get into the true masterpiece, which was Manner of Death, which came in 2020, where they played Tan Bun, who were Bun was a doctor, and Tan was like, what was his job? He like owned a bar. He was kind of like a little bit of like a gang affiliated type situation going on there. He was a teacher as well.
He's not a substitute teacher. He's like a after school teacher,
like a tutor.
He has his own like tutoring school. I read the books. Okay.
Yeah, and then he had like his bar, and then he also like his family was like a gang, so like he was like affiliated with the gang in that way.
Yeah, but I think he was like, wasn't he adopted into it?
Yeah, he was adopted because that was a whole subplot. But so it's like a murder mystery. Like, it's just like peak like when it came like at a time when we were all really looking for something different in BL.
Yeah. Do you remember when they released the half of the poster with just the suits and the hands? And everyone was just like, who is that? We know who that is. Like, we can see who they hadn't done a BL in 2 years. And everyone was just like, it's them. It's them.
That was truly a time to be in fandom. Like, Max-Tul's reunion project, like, oh, those were the days. And then it ended up being, like, such a quality series, too. Like, it had the romance, it had the mystery, it had the action.
I will say though, like it is an adaptation from the book. If you expect it to be the same as the book, it's not. They adapted it pretty heavily, but they kept the core values of it, like the great writing, the great characters. And you do get like, I got a lot out of reading the books before I saw the show because I knew a little more about their thought process, which you can't know in the TV shows because you don't know what's in their heads. But they did a really good job adapting it. both the book and the show has its own merits and own reasons to like watch and read.
Yeah. I think my one issue that I had with the series was the proposal.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh.
That's not in the book, by the way. Like, that is not in the book.
It was such a weird, like, they had just been through all of this trauma together. They had, like, almost died multiple times. And so his thought was, like, let me make you think that you are being chased through the woods by men with guns after you've been, people are trying to murder you multiple times at this point throughout this show. But he's like, haha, just kidding. It's me proposing to you. Like, bro, what the fuck?
Demented, honestly.
What was that?
I would have said no. I would have been like, no. Reject it.
Yeah, I know. It felt like it was really like a last minute thing. And they just like, choice. This might be like cute. And I'm just like, no, they didn't think it through.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Because like, Bun, who was Tul's character, like found it romantic and he was having this emotional reaction. I was like, dude, you were just re-traumatized. Like, you just used all of your trauma that you have been through to like... That was like the one place where I think that they really dropped the ball. Like, it was just like such a weird choice.
Yeah, dude, I kind of had a problem with them putting in the scenes that they knew each other from school.
Oh, like, yeah, the random like college flashbacks.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean that ruined their whole dynamic throughout the show. Like, I pretend that didn't happen. It's not from the books. It never happened in the books. It just, they had such like a lot of mental and stuff going on with the whole hostage situation, what you want to call it. And it sort of feels cheap when they try to pin it on like, oh yeah, Tan always had these feelings for him.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually. Like, it was just the chemistry they had together that made it like, they didn't start off romantic from either sides. Like, it was the mutual chemistry, which is perfect for Max-Tul because they just have this chemistry that works so well.
Yeah, the like the college flashbacks weren't needed to like,
no,
it didn't add anything to the relationship that they had already built up. So yeah, that and the proposal scene, we just pretend that they don't exist, and then it's a perfect show. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Yeah.
I mean, I feel some people forget that Man of Death exists. Not enough people are talking about it. It was like so... It's 3 years ago. It's still so relevant. It should
not be forgotten. It should not be forgotten.
It's still so relevant.
Because, like, I feel like it really gave people what they were looking for. It was not in a university setting. It had a very much more adult vibe that people... It was darker. It had, like, these murder mystery elements that, like, really kept you on your toes. Like... It just really had it all to offer, and it was Max-Tul of all people who could like really pull off everything, and then like to have Max-Tul as the leads as well, like it just it was really just like it
was perfect.
And they also had like they cameoed as Tan and Bun in Triage, which was another series in the Salmon, who was the author, like her novel universe, which starred Tay and T from Two Moons. The OG Two Moons. And then, so they cameoed as Tan and Bun in that. And then, of course, there's constantly rumors about Transplant, which is the sequel to Manner of Death, being adapted. So someone, a little birdie, told me that they heard that the rights were recently picked up by, like, I don't know if it was TV Thunder or another production company. And then, like, there was this whole interview that Max did where he was like, they were asking him about projects, and he was like, oh, I have something, but, like, we're just waiting for things to fall into place. And, like, I'm sure the fans know what I mean by that kind of thing, which kind of, like, really implies that, like, they're waiting for Tul to come back to Thailand for things to kind of take off. They said a couple years ago, before, I guess, Tul's study abroad started like accelerating, that they were going to do another project together. And I don't know if that was Transplant, if there was something else in the works. But so a lot of people seem to think that Transplant with them will be happening once Tul is back in Thailand and kind of situated. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I would like to see it, but
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see what happens. As far as I know, Tul is not, like, dude is fucking everywhere except Thailand. Like, he was just in Alaska. Like, I don't know. He's, just having fun after graduating. So we'll see where things go.
It's the right time to do that. So.
Yeah. I would say if we do get something, it would probably will not be until next year, maybe, or late this year, depending on how fast things film and stuff like that. But
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Yes.
So let's talk about why people love Max and Tul so much. I feel like we really kind of touched on it. The chemistry that they have is just like, I mean, I know, like, if you go the way of, like, physical chemistry, like, in their shows, like, they know how to bring the heat, which I know people really like to see.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of the reasons why so many people tuned into Together With Me, because, like, the whole show opened up with, like, them basically, like, drunkenly hooking up, and, like, that's like one of the things that people talk about the most when it comes to that series, is like the physical
they don't
scenes
hold back.
Between them.
Like, literally.
No. Yeah, and, like, they have fun with it too. Like, they talk about like making out with each other and, like, doing all these intimate scenes, and, like, they're just, like, really comfortable with it, which is nice to see. And, like, I think it kind of ties into what Pixie was saying earlier, that, like, they're very just, like, transparent with what their relationship is like really close friends who see each other as brothers, but at the same time, like, I think because they're so clear about that aspect of their relationship, they're not afraid to just, like, go all in on the fan servicey thing. Like, yeah, they'll I'm pretty sure they've, like, not made out, but, like, kissed during fan meets on stage and stuff like that before, which, like, we all have mixed feelings about actors being, like, having to do those types of things during fan meets and that kind of stuff. But I think they're not afraid to go, like, heavier on these fan service acts because they're so open about what their actual relationship to each other is, which is not anything romantic.
I mean, I sort of feel like Max-Tul, they're the, like, embodiment of what BL is. Like, take away toxic masculinity, put in, like, men actually expressing feelings, being comfortable in their own skins with their own sexualities, whether that is straight, gay, or whatever, and not be, like, panicking about being intimate with another guy, or different kinds of intimacy that is often looked down upon as, like, a feminine thing or as weak. And they have no issues with it, and they're just open and with each other, and you just see the level of trust they have in each other, and it's so refreshing.
Yeah. Heather said all that, plus they're hot.
Plus they're hot. But I mean, I would say that all that also makes them hot.
Makes it hot, yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of when we were doing our off-gun deep dive, and I think it might have been Kayla who was kind of just saying, like, they just kind of act with each other however they want, and, like, just, like, let their relationship exist, and kind of let people interpret that however they want to without, like, being weird about it. They don't put any, like, ideas in people's minds of, like, what is this relationship, which I think is, a big aspect of what BL pairings and fan service is for a lot of other couples. So, I think it just makes their interactions really fun to watch, and there's a lot of genuine friendship there that is shown in different ways, which I just really appreciate seeing. Yeah. And I think another big thing that has made them really, like, stand out to me over the years is their advocacy for the community. So they're both very aware of their role as actors in BL, and, you know, what those roles mean for queer representation, and also how that representation, like, reflects on the actual queer community and stuff like that. So they've been very vocal about, like, using their platform as BL actors, that they've, you know, the platform they've earned as playing queer people and kind of giving that attention back to the actual queer community. So they're very vocal advocates for the LGBT community. They're also very vocal advocates for other marginalized community. Like Tul especially has spoken up about a lot of like racism and you know, things that are happening even outside of Thailand, like in regards to Black Lives Matter and those kind of things. Like they just have a really strong sense of advocacy overall, which I think it's easy to, I don't know where I was going with that. I guess it's easy to take like the kind of fame that you get from BL and take it for granted. I'm not implying that everyone or anyone does that, but inevitably people in the industry are going to take that popularity for granted. And I just kind of appreciate that they've always acknowledged where their popularity has come from in terms of the real community.
Sometimes feel like some BL actors are very performance driven. It's like gay for show kind of deal. And you don't get that with these two. And with everything they do with like their pride photo shoots and just advocacy in general, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like they're trying to push something. It's just like their genuine thoughts and idea and how they feel like the world should be kind of deal.
Yeah, like you can tell that they genuinely like care about the issues that they're speaking on and don't necessarily like, I don't know if it's called rainbow capitalism, like when it's applying to like BL actors and stuff like that, but it's in that same vein of rainbow capitalism as like making a rainbow your profile picture during Pride Month, but like what else do you do the rest of the year? And so like I think they kind of are outside of that realm, and like their advocacy extends beyond just 1 month of the year or, you know, one post here or there, you know. So
and they're absolutely doing this outside of their BL projects, like the 2 years between Together with Me sequel and Manner of Death, they were still very active about these stuff, even though they didn't have any projects like together. So I mean, it's genuine.
Tul was at Pride in New York last year, and that was like, that, I don't know, that just made me so happy to see, like, you know, that was his chance to, I guess, be away from all of his BL fame, but, you know, like, he was still out marching in the parade and kind of supporting the community in that way, and, like, you know,
he was just doing it for himself, not for anyone else.
So, I just think that they're genuinely good people, and I think that also kind of contributes to why they're still, I don't know if relevant's the right word, but I don't know, I think they just have a lot of traits that make people want to see them no matter how much time has passed. And I think they've also found a good routine of, like, I guess, staying in the industry and, like, making it work for them and not, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. I guess, like, viewing it as more of a long-term thing as opposed to just, like, a one-and-done type situation. I don't know if that makes sense, but, yeah. I just think they have a lot of good to offer, so.
Yeah. And they're not trying to distance themselves from their BL roles. I know, like, some actors who've had success in BL kind of, like, oh yeah, I'm not that BL character. Stop talking about that BL character. Like,
yeah, we see a lot of that. So, yeah, it's just like they're proud of what they do. They're proud of the roles that they've played. They're proud of the impact that it's made, and so they aren't ashamed to like embrace what comes with it, but also doing it in a way that's like healthy for the fans and healthy for them as the actors in the roles and stuff like that. So, yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts about what we think is coming next for them, what we want to see from them in the future?
Like, I wouldn't mind seeing them as Tan and Bun again, but I also really want something new for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very, they fit into, like, the popular type of shows that are popular right now. It's like older, more mature. Yeah. I
outside the university realm. Yeah.
Yeah. I want more from them other than, because they tend to have this, like, with Knock and Corn, like they had 3 shows basically playing Knock and Corn, right? So they tend to get stuck with some characters over time, and I really just hope that it's been 3 years. We need a new one.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to see something fresh. Like, I was thinking about when I was, like, making the run sheet, like, would I like to see Transplant? I mean, if that's the project that they're gonna do, like, I'll take it. But
it's a good book, so it'll be a good story. But
it's definitely there's definitely starting off with stronger storyline and characters than they ever had in, like, the Together With Me franchise. So, like, we're definitely starting off way better than we were then. But yeah, I think it would be nice to see them just come back and do something completely different and kind of just, I don't know, start a new universe, maybe do, like, an original, something that's, like, not based on a series or something like that. But honestly, I'll take anything. Like, I just would love to see them. I'd be happy to see them acting together again. So yeah. Heather was asking if there's any further content for people wanting to get into MaxTul beside their shows. Honestly, like, I was researching and, like, looking to see if they've ever done any, like, you know, like, there's Earth Makes Space and Off Gun Fun Night and that kind of stuff, but, like, they've never had anything like that. And I think that's kind of where the benefit of, you know, having a company like GMMTV behind you comes into, because, like, you get the production budget to be able to do those kind of long-term, like, reality series and stuff like that. I mean, they've done like a lot of interviews and appearances that I've really liked over the years, where they've had, like, a lot of good things to say, but no, like, consistent long-term content.
Yeah, but I think that works for them too. Like, that I think their chemistry and their way of being isn't performative enough to have, like, a show like that. It works for other people, and I'm not saying that that's a negative thing, being performative like Off Gun, but I think, like, they're more genuine and more, like, it's more of a natural thing, and I don't think it would play out as well with, like, the reality or talk show-ish kind of way.
Still kind of have that, like, semi-structured format to them.
Yeah.
No matter, like, how scripted it is or not. Like, I think, like, a program like that is always going to have some structured aspect. Yeah, I agree. I think, like, it's just fun to watch them interact and, like, just watch their, sounds kind of creepy, watch their friendship, but just, like, kind of observe how they, like, interact with each other. And I think, like I said, they do have a lot of good interviews out there, but, like, unfortunately I'm not familiar with, like, the channels and stuff to know, like, what they're called off the top of my head. They did some really good ones around Manner of Death Promotions, where they kind of talked a lot about having been in the industry for some time and, like, coming back to work together in a BL role again, and talking a lot about, like, their friendship and brotherhood over the years and that kind of stuff. So I usually just, like, Google, like, MaxTul interview, not Google, YouTube search MaxTul interview, and you'll find some good ones.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to get to know them is just to watch their shows, honestly.
Yeah.
That's where people fall in love with them.
I think, funnily enough, I really liked watching the behind the scenes stuff for Together With Me, which a lot of that is subbed on YouTube at this point, but they were just like having so much fun with the characters and having so much fun, you know, with like the intensity of the relationship that they were portraying in that show and kind of all the mess of it, which, you know, obviously when I was getting to know Max-Tul, that was the first thing I had watched. So I was kind of trying to consume all of the content around it. And that like all the behind the scenes footage from Together With Me still sticks out as something that I think is just a lot of fun to watch and kind of see their personalities. Like if you're looking for something that kind of shows their personalities, not when acting, like, yeah, the BTS content, and Heather said the BTS content for Manner of Death as well. Like, it's just nice to see how they interact with each other. So, yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun, like, compilations and edits that you can find out there of their best moments and interview clips and stuff like that. And I think it'll all kind of give you the vibe of what makes them so fun and enjoyable to watch. So yeah.
I think Fathers of BL is a really great way to describe them, because even if you don't follow them actively, they're always like this almost paternal or even like big brother type presence in the BL space. That just feels very comforting, and of course them being so comfortable with what they're doing themselves adds to that. And it kind of, I don't think you would consider it a meme, a prompt. It kind of reminds me of that prompt that's like, who would you leave your drink with at a bar when you went to the bathroom? And I feel like Max and Tul is like, they're a good answer for that. They just have that kind of like, I don't know how else to describe it other than they are kind of like fatherly in a way. I know Heather said daddy, but I wasn't even thinking of it in that way, really.
Heather's mind was going a different direction with that.
But yeah,
I think, I definitely agree with that. I think they're those people that, like you were saying, like, even if you've not watched their projects, like, I think that everyone knows who Max and Tul are to some degree, whether that be because of their chemistry or the way that they interact with their fans or their longevity as, like, I mean, there's very few BL pairings that are still active, which, like, I think Off Gun is another one who's been active from around that period, but, like, not many are still active. And I guess, like, you could argue that Max-Tul aren't right now either, because, you know, Tul's kind of been off doing his academic thing, but I think it's a little bit different than, like, stepping away from BL completely, as, like, a lot of pairings from that time period have done. So I think, like, anyone who is coming into BL, like, unless you literally just walked in, like, last month, you're probably gonna have heard of Max and Tul at some point. Even if you just walked in 2 days ago, they always come up when Pride Month starts because of, like, their photo shoots and, like, their advocacy and the way that they talk about pride in the queer community. So like, even if June 1st was your first day,
if you listened to this podcast before, you've definitely heard about them.
I used to find a way to bring them up in, like, almost every episode, honestly. I'm pretty sure we made a TikTok at one point of all the times I'd, like, mentioned Max-Tul in, like, the first season of the podcast. The Pride photo shoots, I think we kind of spoke about it in terms of their, like, talking about their advocacies. But yeah, I think that's, like, one of the things that, like, they've done it a couple years in a row. Obviously not last year, and I don't know if, you know, Tul will be back in Thailand to do one this year, but they're always iconic. And I know the 1 year Tul made this, like, really well-written, in-depth post about, like, his role as a BL actor and kind of why he wants to use his platform to advocate for the community because of what he's gotten from the queer community by acting as a BL actor and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of good that comes from Max and Tul, so that's why they're my faves. Just good eggs all around. So yeah, I guess that's it for our Max and Tul deep dive. if you're a fan, let us know like what your favorite project is of theirs, what your favorite interview moment that you've seen from them is, or interaction that you've seen over the years. And if you're not a fan, I definitely urge you to go check out some of their work. I would say start with Manner of Death, start with the good, and then go further if you want to see some of their older stuff that's a little bit more green, and not as, you know, well put together as Manner of Death.
Yeah. I mean, Manner of Death, their chemistry in that one starts off right away. So you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. If you're gonna go back and watch through stuff, it's a good place to start. But yeah, so share your thoughts with us down in the comments or over on our social media. If you like the episode and the discussion and my rambling about them, you can rate and review the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and also drop a like here, which really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And share it with your friends, your other Max-Tul friends, your Max-Tul fans that you follow or interact with. We want to, you know, get a lot of people enjoying the episode and kind of learning about them. So yeah, that's gonna be all for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Maybe while we're in Thailand.
Maybe while we're
just rainbow colors,
tattoo, dye your hair,
yes,
do it all while you're there.
Rebel.